Hey, what's up, guys? This weekend's UFC Perth is headlined by the number 3 ranked Carlos Ulberg as he takes on the number 7th ranked Dominic Reyes. This fight should be a banger, and it has huge title implications. The winner might just leapfrog Yuri and Khalil Roundtree and become the number 1 contender, depending on who comes on top as the champion between Alex Pereira and the champion Magomed Ankalaev. I've made a separate video on the story behind the fight for this main event. So if you are interested to learn more about both fighters' journey and how their separate paths led them to this pivotal moment in their careers, please go to our channel and check out the story behind the fight. However, other than the main event, there are many great fights on the undercard of UFC Perth, featuring fighters from Australia and Europe that might just steal the show. And there are 3 fights I'm looking forward to see the most. And these fighters may just become breakout stars at the event and move their careers to the next level. Number 3, Jonathan Micallef versus Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott, very popular fighter from England, very charismatic, always come to fight and great on the mic. You can see a lot of Chael Sonnen in the Welsh Gangsters promos. He basically came up through Cage Warriors, basically had all his amateurs and early pro fights in Cage Warriors. He won 4 straight fights in Cage Warriors, got his shot on the Contender Series, and he won a tough fight, a comeback win that earned him his UFC contract. Then he won 3 straight fights in the UFC, with wins over Val Woodburn, Preston Parson, and a knockout win over Basil Hafez. Oban lost his last fight to Song Hyun Ko, and he looked flat in that fight. He just got outfought by Ko on the feet and on the ground. But I think a big part of it was that it was actually a fight put together in the last minute. Oban had a fight canceled and postponed. So I think the cancel bout, the opponent change, and the schedule change really affected his mental preparation and performance. So I don't think that fight really reflects the best of Oban Elliott. And based on his previous records in Cage Warriors, he usually comes back stronger after a loss. So I'm expecting a much better and much more improved version of Oban Elliott for this fight. And his opponent, Jonathan Micallef, I didn't know much about him before, but after this fight was put together, I did some research. The captain, Jonathan Micallef, is from Australia. He has a MMA record of 8 wins and 1 loss. He mainly fought for Hex Fight Series, an MMA promotion based in Australia, where he was the welterweight champion. He won his Contender Series fight by triangle and beat Kevin Joseph by decision in his UFC debut this past February. He's a very aggressive fighter with good grappling, and he has a 5-inch reach advantage over Oban. And Oban is not really a big welterweight, so Jonathan may have the size advantage as well come fight night. They are both young. Jonathan is 26, Oban is 27. Honestly, they match up really well. Both are pretty good on the feet, and I think Oban has better boxing and has good knees and low kicks. But Jonathan has the reach advantage, and I think Jonathan has more power. And both have very underrated wrestling and grappling. I think it's a very even matchup, and I expect both guys to come in hard, try to prove a point, and try to put a pace on each other. Should be a very gritty and entertaining fight. Next up in the heavyweight division, Louie Sutherland versus Justin Tafa. Justin Batman Tafa has 4 knockout wins in the UFC heavyweight division, with wins over Austin Lang, Parker Porter. He's a very good striker and has knockout power, but he is on a 2-fight losing streak. He lost to Carl Williams by decision and Taza Teixeira by TKO. Initially, I thought the UFC is giving Justin an easy matchup in Australia, but then I did some research on his opponent, Louie Sutherland, and I think this is not an easy fight for Justin at all. Louie Sutherland is from Great Britain top team, 31 years old, has an MMA record of 10 wins and 3 losses. He was the Levels Fight League heavyweight champion. After watching many of his fights, he's a very athletic heavyweight, 265 pounds but very athletic with knockout power and moves really well and has fast hands. And he has cardio for 3 rounds, so very impressive for a heavyweight that size. He also has good wrestling and heavy ground and pound. So if he mixes up wrestling and striking, then it could be a tough fight for Justin Tafa. Sutherland has fought once for Bellator and also for the PFL, and all his losses were by decision, so it's not easy to knock him out. If Louie comes to this fight with a good game plan, then I think this could be his coming out party. Either way, I think this will be a good fight between 2 hard-hitting heavyweights. Next, we move on to the main card, Jake Matthews versus Neil Magny. I'm very intrigued by this fight. Honestly, after 3 straight wins, especially with his submission win over Chidi and Jogwani, I thought Jake Matthews would get someone in the top 15, someone like Gilbert Burns, who he called out in his last post-fight interview. But I guess the UFC decided to give him another test in Magny for UFC Perth. Magny just fell out of the top 15, but I think skill for skill, Magny is definitely a top 15 caliber fighter and has beaten so many top prospects and legends. I think this is Jake Matthews' fight to lose, but he has to stay composed and focused if he wants to take out Magny. Magny is hard to finish. He only got knocked out by contenders like Carlos Prates, Michael Morales. But I think the key to victory for Matthews is follow the game plan of Gilbert Burns. Use strikes to set up the takedown and use top control to finish Magny by submission. But it is important for Jake to stay composed and not rush for the finish, as he does seem to slow down a bit later in the fight, and Magny is so good at capitalizing on these type of moments in the later rounds. So this is an intriguing fight for me. Based on his UFC track record, Jake Matthews has never won more than 3 fights in a row in the UFC, so this could be his final test. If he can beat Magny, then I think he's ready to get a big name and a big step up next, possibly taking on someone like Gilbert Burns or even Colby Covington. So these are the 3 fights I'm most excited to see on UFC Perth. Please leave a comment below and let me know which fight or which fighters are you most excited to see on UFC Perth. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.